engaging.
The amount of content that's not available in readings or PowerPoints, I would say. And the quality, obviously the quality of the content that you can only get at lectures.
I mean, sometimes if they say like, yeah, it's going to help you with your assignment if you come to this lecture, then I'm more likely to go, I think.
I have to go to one of my lectures because my lecturer doesn't know how to use computers to like have a Michael side to put up.
Oh yeah, one of mine too. You have to go, otherwise you can't get the lecture anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean I do gosh, and that's the class.
And that wouldn't happen in the journalism school, though.
Eric Lowe doesn't do PowerPoints.
But he's a South African. He's just been to Iraq, and he said they wanted somebody who knew what a dysfunctional country looked like, so they asked a South African.
Yeah, there's a lot of those up for you now. I mean, just what I had there.
Is that a J school course where they don't put the PowerPoint up? Is it a J school course with the PowerPoint stuff?
It's Connu 2000 and something.
Where there's no...
He only puts the lecture slides up if it's somebody else's lecture slides,
Okay.
but he doesn't do his own. So if you don't go, then I think there's only 2 lecture slides up for the previous thing. But
Is this the Mass Media and Society one?
No, it's...
Is that with Nick? Nick's one,
Yeah,
Mass Media and Society.
Yeah, he puts everything up, like everything on Wiki, everything.
Yeah, but he's tricked a lot of people into thinking that you need to go for the journal, for the assessment or something, and it's most of these classes are, I'd say, 70 to 80% full.
Yeah, because he puts the question up at the end.
Yeah.
No, it's also because his tutorials aren't compulsory, so most people don't go to tutorials, so they have to find a way to do one.
Anyway, so how many of your courses stream your lectures online, on Lectopia or whatever?
No.
None.
Oh wait, I have one, a religion one, that streams everything.
So pretty much none of them are streamed online?
Do you think that would be useful to have?
Yeah.
That would make people heaps lazier. That would make even more of a reason not to go.
But there are sometimes people that have classes, and they
One of my classes, you can listen to it live over the internet, and like I've pretty much listened to it live every week. Like you can there's an option to just download it and listen to it later, but I usually listen sitting on my computer at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday.
That's now.
Yeah.
I think there's one thing that needs to be addressed in this regard. Our classes are getting shorter and shorter. Like our allocated hours are getting shorter and shorter as the years go by. And I think if people aren't forced, and emphasise the word forced to come to uni, that may be reduced. And I can guarantee that our fees will not be reduced.
Should you
with
be
the amount of
forced
hours.
when you're all adults?
I think we should be tricked into coming for the benefit of our own education. If our allocated hours per course are keep getting cut, then
It gives you less of a reason to, I hate to say, it gives you less of a reason to get up super early if it's only a 50-minute lecture and that's your only thing for that day. You know what I mean? If it's an hour and 50 minutes and you've got other things following it, it gives you more of a reason. I have no choice. I'm an international student. I have to go to everything.
Is that fair? International students are required by their visa requirements to attend classes, and if they don't, we can dole them in. There's a hotline, 1300. But domestic students are not required. Is that fair, that distinction?
I mean,
It's also that international students have to meet a certain GPA every semester or else they get kicked out.
Yeah.
And you guys can just keep failing for like forever.
It's not true. I've got international friends that got kicked out, and they're accepted back in the uni.
idea, it doesn't sound it's not very nice in an ideal world, but I doubt that it would work, because who would want to dog in an international student with the amount of fees they pay?
Yeah.
So back on contact hours, do you think that there's enough or not enough? Not enough?
No.
And so do you think the contact hours that you do have, are they used efficiently? Or are you sitting there in your course thinking, why is he still talking?
it depends on the course.
Yeah.
I think in the practical courses you feel like you're doing more. like if you're doing a production course or one of those kind of things, or even a course like this, but more theoretical based courses, you don't feel like you're doing as much. You feel like you're just having a second lecture, so you need to use your contacts.
I think maybe in tutorials for more theoretical courses, they need to be more practical, like learning how to write an essay, because a lot of people, by the time they graduate, don't even know how to do that. Referencing classes, anything that could add a little bit of an extra touch to the practical work that you actually have to complete during your own time.
Do you guys think that there's a good balance between the theory and practice that you get?
I think in journalism there is, because we have a lot more practical work, obviously.
I think in communication there isn't a good balance at all. Like I've done, I think, 2 practical courses out of the 2 years I've been here, and the rest have all been theory based. They're like, this is how you do it, but we're not going to let you actually do it yet. So it doesn't make sense. Like
The business faculty is almost all theory.
I think UQ really caters towards people coming back for postgrad, which is why our undergraduate degrees are so based on theory, not practice.
I also think that there needs to be less assessed group work, because that, like the idea of working in a group is, it's good because it encourages you to, meet new people and carry some skills over into the workforce, but that isn't always the case, and there's always people doing more work than other people.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they have peer assessment, but it hardly ever means anything. I mean, the first semester I had here when I came to uni, reporting group work, and it's just like, I'm here to focus on myself now.
I think
We
group
should
work
do it.
should exist, but not, I don't think it should be assessed as much.
I reckon this subject's like we've got a pretty good system where like you put in groups and everyone shares the workload, but then you do your own assessment.
Mind you, it cost the taxpayer $180,000 for us to work that out. Seriously, because I was the big mate of group work, and I invented peer assessment systems, but they didn't work effectively. And now I get people to work. You notice I use the word syndicates. I don't use the word groups or teams. So that's the position I've come to over, say, 5 years. I'm not doing, because the peer assessment stuff is just very complicated to actually work out. So I prefer now to have a system where you share data, but you are personally responsible for the outputs.
It's sometimes worse when you're working in a pair as well, because you can't really do peer assessment, and if one person just doesn't hold up, it's really, really aggravating, and that's happened to me twice in my university experience.
Well, we know that 5 is the optimum number in a group. We know that, I know from my research in groups.
I think it's important, but I like the way this works, where the content is made, like you're responsible as a group for producing content, and if you're not involved, then you don't get the content that you want for your work. So there needs to be some incentive, I think, based on like taking content and data and research and whatever and using it yourself. There needs to be an incentive to be part of the group, not necessarily an assessment for the way you operate in the group. Does that make sense?
Yeah. There was an article, back to the theory and practicality basis. There was an article in the Australian a few weeks ago. Can you guys actually read that?
We've got about 5 minutes left. Is that enough?
Okay, it's basically discussing med students. They're not happy with the amount of anatomy they're getting. I think it works out to be something, it's 56 hours over a 5-year course, so it works out to be like 10 hours a semester. No,
10 hours a year.
10 hours a year, so 5 hours a semester, essentially, of anatomy. How do you guys feel about being trained by doctors who have only had treated by doctors?
That's so good.
Terrifying. That's horrible.
Would you be less likely to go to a younger doctor because of that?
Yeah.
I think with doctors it's all touch and points. It really depends on a lot of different factors. Some doctors I think are just naturally good at